Hi traders, good morning. Welcome to this video on the euro dollar and pound dollar. My name is Chris from Elite Currency, and let's take a look at the chart. So this is the euro dollar, and price is still in a range. Basically, when looking at the 4-hour chart, we see that, as discussed last week, that price used the support zone of the range, building an inverted head and shoulders to make a rally back up to the top of the range at around 110. We mentioned 109.50 up to 110.25 probably, if I remember correctly, which is the top of this resistance, the top of the range, and the price bouncing at that resistance zone for a move down again. So that indeed happening, price expanding and continuing with this range sideways, and it's falling and now about halfway. So it looks likely that the current swing will finish back at the bottom for the moment. This particular continuation is not so good for the 4-hour chart because there's not that much space left compared to the risk. But on lower time frames, maybe that could make sense to trade this price swing back to the bottom. Let's take a look at the 50-minute chart. And we do see a nice little triangle that took place earlier today. And then we had a break, flag, and continuation. So price is moving away from the entry zone already on the 50-minute chart too. So I wouldn't jump into trade here, but there is a 61.8 fib and a WIS 5 zone that could provide support. If price makes a rally again up to the 144 EMA and the previous top, then that could be a good bouncing spot at 109 for a move down to let's see, the 78.6 fib at 108.25, and perhaps a continuation down to 100 fib with 7 with 6 here at 108 and 107.25. Okay, so that could be a continuation on the 50-minute chart. Let's go back to the 4-hour world. There we go. So for the moment, a continuation down to the bottom is likely, and we're going to have a retest of the support of the range. Here we had a head and shoulders level 2 pattern, excuse me. So what's going to happen next? Let's take a look at the daily chart. So a lot of volatility here. Downtrend, flag, continuation, spike up, spike down, spike up, and now we're in this range. So the momentum is really to both sides. There was momentum up, momentum down, and now we're going flat. But I think that considering all circumstances, that the overall trend is still down. And I think that there's a fair chance that price will break through this support zone for a downward break towards the daily Fibonacci levels here at 138.2 fib. At 105, maybe even heading towards the 161.8 fib at 103.50. So I've probably favored the downside break, but of course, if it breaks to the upside, look for, in any case, a strong daily candle breakout with the daily candle close near the high or low to signal that the bulls or bears are in control. Look for a little bit of pullback on lower time frames, and that's what I'm going to do at least, and look for a continuation higher or lower. I favor the downside though, and I think that price will fall, make a flag pattern perhaps in the rest of this week, and maybe in June, for instance, make this breakout to the downside. If the break happens this week, then I still expect a flag and continuation on lower time frames, of course. So that's my view at least. I'm expecting downside and a flag, and then a break of that flag for continuation lower for the moment. Pound USD. All right, so we had what looks like 5 waves up for the moment, but we are getting like this actually. But we're getting a correction here, and correction is probably not finished for the moment. We had a very strong spike down, of course. I think we're going to test that bottom again. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart. There we go. And it looks like we're having a wave 4 here at the 38.2 fib. So I would suspect that this price can continue lower. What I'm looking for is a breakthrough 121.60 and a breakthrough that with a flag on a, I don't know, probably 15 or 30-minute chart would be good for continuation lower once it breaks that flag. That kind of continuation lower is what I'm looking for. And I think that price could go down towards 120, which is the WIS 8 here, and the 50 fib. Let's take a look at the hourly chart. There we go. And you see a confluence at 120, which was 7 for a nice breakout, and a 161.8 fib. So that looks like a good confluence, good target at 120, and yeah, it looks fine if we get the breakout through this kind of bear flag, what's taking place right here. Nice downtrend channel, so we need a break for acceleration of that channel to the downside. Let's put the channel on. There we go. And we're looking for a break to the downside here in this channel. Flag continuation down to 120, I think. All right, let's go back to the 4-hour chart. Otherwise, not much to add, but I think this could be a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a move down for a wave 5 here towards the 50 fib at 120 seems very likely. It could go further if we get an extension, maybe even to the 61.8 fib, maybe even to retest the previous bottom, who knows. Let's put the fib from here to here as well. That's the same fib as actually, sorry, we don't need that. But yeah, it could even go down to the 78.6 fib, test the previous bottom, even more stronger, right? So, but anyhow, for the moment, let's take a look at the weekly. I would say there's bearish pressure, unless on the hourly chart. I should add one thing though. If we get a break of this flag to the upside, there could be a counter trend move up to the 50 fib. It's unusual, but it could be a wave 4, even if it hits the 50 fib, and it could be a bigger ABC pattern like that, or some WXY, it doesn't really matter. And that 50 fib could be a resistance spot for a downtrend continuation. So that is an alternative. I don't expect that as the number 1 scenario, but if price does push up above the 144 EMA and does start to break above 122.25, 122.50, there could be a push up to 123.60. And that would then be a bouncing spot for downside. So I'm leaning towards the break here right away, and a move down to 120. But if it does push up, a bounce there from 123.60 to 120 is likely. If it breaks above the 50 fib, well then of course this bearish outlook is less likely, and we might see we'll analyze it again in any case on Wednesday, but I don't expect that for the moment. All right. So these are the two most likely scenarios, but the downside break, the number 1. All right. That's it for now. Thanks for joining, and see you later this week with a new video. Cheers. Bye-bye.